Okay, we're going to get set up now for some. Are there any questions from the audience?
So when is the No Getaway of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book coming out? And I want it so bad right now.
How much you paying this kid?
Just
$300.
But in gift cards to an unlikely bookstore in Plainville, Massachusetts. An unlikely story.
Just so you have a visual, because not everybody can see the person who asked the question. He's about 6'4" and about 42 years old, right? The Getaway. Thank you. I'm glad you want The Getaway, which is coming out on November 7th in bookstores everywhere, including this one. So thank you. I'm glad you're a reader. Thanks for being a fan.
Do we have another question?
I have a question of, I know we're all here to promote books and reading. How do you promote reading when your districts and your schools are turning your libraries into less books and more computers for media centers? When I went to a school library today, brand new building, they had just a couple bookshelves. It was so disheartening. How can we fight to make sure that they keep the books in the library?
Yeah, I mean, as many people as you can get to writing and harassing and talking to the superintendents and the people who hold those purse strings. You know, I mean, we've all been in situations where we've known school librarians and then their district just cuts the position. And it's so unfair that the school librarian has to worry about their job, if their job's going to exist the next year. So personally, for me, what I do is I have written letters and I've written open letters. Beyond that, I don't know what else we can do.
At my kid's school, I don't know who started this tradition. I think it was one of the parents, but there's a tradition that on your kid's birthday, you send a book with the kid to school. Like, it's the kid's gift to the school. And I feel like if you do that enough, you're going to get enough books that they're going to need to build a few more bookshelves. Yeah.
We have some questioners up here.
Okay. So I just want to start, though. I'm a librarian, and I have all of your books in my schools. And I have a large budget and a supportive administration and supportive teachers, so I feel super lucky. I also have a 6-year-old who is obsessed with reading. He's read all of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. He's reading Spaceheads right now, and he loved Lunch Lady, so big fan. But we want to know more about your use of social media. And, you know, if you are on social media, you know, if you're not on Instagram yet, why not? Because that's where all the kids are, and we'd love to tag you in our photos of kids reading books by you so that, you know, they can hear your responses.
And there's an extreme value when a child actually tweets to you if you even like it.
They love that.
I use social media a lot, but I'll tell you what, I always click heart, right, on the tweet or whatever, but it can be difficult to reply to every tweet. But you encourage your kids to write physical letters, and they will get physical letters back, and they can keep that forever. Yeah. Because it actually, for me, it's easier to keep track of physical mail than it is those that comes on my phone. I use Instagram to share sketches and behind-the-scenes stuff. I use Twitter and Facebook to try to put things out there that can give a behind-the-scenes look of what I'm doing, but also maybe make people feel a little bit better about the world, if I can.
All right, we're going to do one more question.
I was wondering, at like what age did you guys like want to become an author, and like why?
That's a good one to end on. I wanted to be a newspaper cartoonist. I didn't want to be a children's author, which is what I became. And so I tried for about 3 years out of college. I graduated with a criminal justice degree, so very useful.
Do you want to trade seats?
And when I was 28, a light bulb went off over my head, and I realized maybe I can do this. I can do this thing. I can't be a newspaper cartoonist, but maybe I can find another place for my cartoons to go. So it was 28 when I decided to become an author.
So I was in junior high. I was keeping journals and diaries, and I had no idea what to do with them. And somebody said to me, you know, maybe you could write a book. And I thought, no, that's impossible. I couldn't possibly write a book. Everybody knows how dim I am. And so So when I got to high school, then I started improving my reading. And then once I started to read really good books, then I started thinking, you know what? My problem was that I wasn't matching my reading life and my writing life. And then I went to college for creative writing. And then my second year in college, I published that first Rotten Ralph book. So that's when that got started.
When I was in the 3rd grade, I was 8 years old, we wrote our own books. We were studying Greek mythology, and we had to write our own Greek myth. And we were learning about brainstorming and organizing our ideas and writing a rough draft, editing, revising, story mountains. And I still have that book. I still have my folder with all of the materials. So even when you open up the book, you know, it says JK Publishing Company, copyright 1986. And to me, that's where it started. Also in 3rd grade, we had an author come visit our school, and it was Jack Gantos. and I can remember being 8 years old, sitting on that wooden floor of the auditorium of Gates Lane School in Worcester, Massachusetts, looking up, and I thought, that guy is making a living off his imagination. He's like doing this for real. And so we all went back to our classrooms. We all went back to Mrs. Turner's 3rd grade class, and we all sat at our desks, and we drew Rotten Ralph. And I remember I was getting so involved in the drawing, and then Jack just sort of appeared in the doorway, and then he sauntered as only Jack Gantos can, up and down the aisle. And then, you know, when you're a kid and you're at your desk, and you could feel an adult up there. And Jack is looking down, and he tapped on my desk and said, "Good cat." He said, "Nice cat." Well, we're practicing.
Nice cat.
There you go. But it was more like, "Nice cat." And they just sauntered. And that's my story.
Jack Gantos never visited me when I was in 3rd grade. I bought my first comic when I was in 5th grade, and I started making comics in the 5th grade as well. I had a best friend named Jeremy. When our more athletic friends were playing tetherball, we would make comics together, and we sold them to our classmates for 50 cents a piece. We made $8. It was amazing, and I basically haven't stopped.
I was in 1st grade, and Jeff Kinney came and visited my class. It's the weirdest thing.
I just met a 6th grade teacher. And she came up to me, and she was like, "I'll never forget, my 6th grade teacher was John Cheska."
This could happen. No, actually, the Jeff Kinney story is not true, but that's what we do. We make up stories. I was going to be a doctor, but then I realized that's such a yucky job. I mean, you got to deal with sick people, a lot of poop, a lot of blood. And then I always wanted to be a writer since 1st grade when I read Go Dog Go. I thought that was the funniest book I ever read in the whole world. That's the end.
Yeah.